Hey there, Patriots. So what we're going to talk about today in our review of statistics is how do we read, actually we're not going to make them yet, that'll be in class, how to read dot plots and histograms. What are they and how do we read them? So frequency, an important term in statistics. Frequency is nothing more than how often something happens. So when we hear the word frequency, frequency means number of times. It's how often something happens. So it is going to be how often an outcome occurs. Frequency is how often an outcome, that should be an O, occurs. Frequency is how often an outcome occurs. Boom, boom, boom. Then we have what's called relative frequency. Relative frequency is the number of times that my outcome, my account happens, divided by the total number of events. Relative frequency is always expressed as a percent or a decimal. So to find my relative frequency, I am going to take the number of outcomes I get. We're going to take the number of outcomes that we have in our experiment or our observations, and we are going to divide that by the total number of outcomes. Easy peasy. And then that's going to give us a decimal answer, and to make that a percent, we're going to times it by 100, or just move the decimal place to the right twice. So a dot plot. We're going to use a dot plot to find the frequency of items. So a dot plot illustrates how many times something has happened. It'll show us the frequency. So like when we're looking at this one, when we're looking at our dot plot, what we see is, I'm going to change my view here a little bit. What we see is we rolled a die 50 times. A die is one dice, by the way. Dice is plural, die is singular. We rolled it 50 times, and then I wrote down which number came up every time I rolled it. So the first time I got a 2, second time I got a 6, third time I got a 6, fourth time I got a 5, fifth time I got a 4, etc., etc., etc. My dot plot right here lets me see those results graphically. So every dot is one of the times that it happens. For instance, if you count the number of ones, how many times did we get a 1? Well, we got a 1 7 times. 2 showed up 12 times. 3 showed up 7 times. 4 showed up 12 times. 5 showed up 6 times. And 6 showed up 6 times. So when we're looking at this, we can see our mode is 12 because mode is the number that happens most often. What number happens most often? 2 and 4, and they were 12 each. So our mode is what number happens most? 2 and 4 are our mode. I said 12. It's actually 2 and 4 are the mode because they each happen 12 times. So looking back at that, let's figure out how many times a 5 was rolled. So if we look back at our chart, I can either count it from the table, but why I don't like always counting from the table is sometimes it is very easy to lose track of one. But when I've got my dot plots, just do tally marks, put a dot, put a dot, put a dot. We can see 5 was rolled 6 times. And then it wants us to take that frequency and turn it into a relative frequency. So a relative frequency is going to be the number of times I got a 5 divided by the total number of rolls. So it's 6 divided by 50. I put that into my calculator. 6 divided by 50 gives me 0.12, and that is 12%. So what my relative frequency means is 12% of all rolls are a 5. That's what my relative frequency tells me. Dot plots can also be drawn horizontally. It's the same information, we're just drawing it horizontally instead of vertically. So this time what I did is I rolled 2 dice at the same time, and I counted the number each one came up. So what's great about dot plots is we can answer questions like this very easily. What number was rolled the most? Well, if I look at my dot plot, the highest row of column of dots is the one that was rolled the most, and that's a 7. So which number was rolled the most? 7. How many times was it rolled? It was rolled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So it has a frequency of 6. 7 has a frequency of 6. It is the one that is rolled the most. 7 is my mode. You can also see that 7 is your median because it's your middle data value. Just letting you know, it's the mode and the median. And if we did some math, we'd find out it's also the mean. Kind of cool. So what is the relative frequency of this roll? What we're going to do is we're going to take the number of times I rolled a 7. I rolled a 7 6 times. The number of outcomes divided by total number of outcomes. So I'm going to count how many times I rolled the dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. I rolled 36 different times. I put that into my calculator. It will give me a decimal, and that decimal comes out to 0.166666666 forever. So it's about 0.17, which is 17%. So 17% of the time when I roll the dice twice or 2 dice, I will get a 7. And our last graph we wanted to talk about today is a histogram. A histogram displays the number of times the frequency of outcomes as well. However, instead of a dot plot which shows one at a time, a histogram will usually show a range. We're going to say from here to here. When we do that interval, what's important to know, the histogram includes the first number of my interval, but it does not include the second number of my interval. So when we look at a histogram right here, oh, where'd my histogram go? Oh my gosh, my histogram is missing. Hold on. Well, that was a little embarrassing. So what we can see here is we have our histogram. Notice on the bottom, the red bar starts at 50 and goes all the way up to 55. It does not include the 55. It includes the 50. So when we're looking at the height in inches of whatever we're looking at, people, dogs, I don't know, horses, it doesn't say. So from the first group is anybody that falls within the height of 50 inches to 55. Include the 50, but not the 55. And when we go vertically, we can see that this red bar counts 4 different. So the red bar is 4 groups. Boom, boom. Change colors here. Let's see if we can keep it even. So there are 4 different people, dogs, horses, whatever those elements are in that first histogram bar. The second histogram bar has a frequency of 6 because it goes all the way up to 6. We can see that 55 to 60 is my mode. It is the group that happens most often. 60 to 65 happens 5 times. 65 to 70 only happens twice. I'm getting the frequency by going up. And we know frequency because notice we have our labels. Everything is labeled. 70 to 75 happens 3 times. And 75 to 80 only happens once. So keep in mind, this last group is 75 inches, but not the 80. So the tallest anybody is from this group is at most 79.999999999 inches. They're not quite 80. They have to be under the 80. Alrighty, so as always, Patriots, if you have any questions, please jot them down for your teacher. They will gladly answer them in class for you. Or you can see me. I am in R16 after school or before school. You can just come by even and say, hey, Mr. Gilbertson, great job on those videos. Really appreciate it. You're totally helping out. But anyway, Patriots, we will see you when we see you, and we hope you have a good one.